My Lords, the hybrid sitting of the House will now resume, and I ask members to respect social distancing. Private notice question on access to cancer treatment drugs in Northern Ireland. Lord Moylan.
Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing my name on the order paper.
Minister Lord Bethell.
My Lords, the innovative lung cancer drug Tagrisso has recently had its licence expanded to include patients with early-stage lung cancer through Project Orbis. I'm pleased to confirm that Tagrisso is currently available to all patients, including in Northern Ireland at clinical discretion, with no delays. The UK Government is committed to support parity of access for medicines across all parts of the UK.
My Lords, people will be reassured to hear that, but the fact of the matter is, surely, that the use of this drug for early access, for early treatment of lung cancer remains subject to the approval of the EMA, and that access at the moment is available on an application by clinicians on an individual case basis, which is not the same ease of access as exists in the rest of the UK. While it may be a matter of some assurance that the EMA may be expected to approve its use for this purpose of early treatment in the near future, that remains wholly outside the government's control. What does it say? What does that say about the integrity of our national health service? And for how long can this situation go on?
Lord Bethell, Minister.
Well, my Lords, we estimate that there are currently just 8 patients in Northern Ireland who would benefit from the expanded use of Tagrisso for early-stage disease. Can I reassure my noble friend that they will all have the same access as in the rest of the United Kingdom without any delay or restraint on that access?
Baroness Thornton.
Yes, my Lords, I think we would all wholeheartedly welcome the news of the agreement to enable early access to osimertinib for early-stage lung cancer patients in England. And I absolutely recognise that this is also available to patients in Northern Ireland. But as important as access for treatment is early diagnosis. So it's deeply concerning that the number of people in England and presumably across the UK being seen by a specialist for suspected cancer following urgent referral from their GP has dropped dramatically. So what steps is the government taking to bring these waiting lists down? Because we certainly can't wait for a reorganisation of the NHS as being proposed this year. And does the Noble Lord acknowledge that reorganisations actually tend to have a chilling effect on the recovery of our NHS?
My noble Baroness is entirely right to be concerned about the backlog of oncological diagnostics. It's a grave concern to all of us. That is why the NHS has massively prioritised the tests of which she describes. We are working extremely hard to get through the backlog. GPs are extremely focused on identifying those who are most at risk, and those who are late for their tests are being followed up with great energy and endeavour. And I would pay tribute particularly to the role of NHSD, who are using the kind of data gains that we made during the pandemic to mobilise all of the technology we can to get the right people in the tests at the right time.
Baroness Jolly.
I'm really pleased that this drug can now be used, as I understand it, is something of a wonder drug. So that's good news. And I wonder if there are any other drugs that might fall foul of the Northern Ireland Protocol. But I wonder if the Minister could update the House on the problems that are being had in Northern Ireland at the moment over-the-counter medicines, things like strepsils and things like that, which appear to have fallen foul of the protocol.
Minister.
My Lords, I'm not aware of a strepsil shortage in Northern Ireland, but I would be glad to write to the noble Baroness if I have any information.
Lord Patel.
My Lords, could the noble Lord, the Minister, confirm that the Northern Ireland Protocol does run the risk of medicines not being available, and that there will be a divergence both in medicines availability and, importantly, on medical devices, because the approval process might be different, and that the government is due to report in 6 months the effect of this divergence?
Minister.
Well, my Lords, we are watchful of the concerns to which the noble Lord refers to. But it is our hope and aspiration that there won't be the kind of delays or trouble that he explained. The Northern Ireland Protocol means that Northern Ireland will stay aligned with EU rules, particularly for this kind of specific cancer medicine. But that does not mean that there needs to be any delays. But we are watching it carefully, and the report that he describes will give a full account of any problems if there are any.
Lord Lansley.
Can my noble friend, in this particular instance, at least explain to us what is the divergence between the MHRA and the European Medicines Agency? The EMA's Committee for Medicinal Products for Human Use on the 22nd of April gave a positive opinion. That was under an accelerated assessment. But the EMA has not yet given this new indication marketing authorisation. So what is the potential gap between MHRA authorisation and EMA authorisation?
Minister.
Well, my noble friend is, as ever, all over the detail. It is my understanding that the gap is a matter of weeks rather than of any clinical divergence in their assessment of the evidence. But I'm afraid to say I would have to leave it to the EMA to speak for themselves on that.
Lord Rogan.
My Lords, Baroness Thornton rightly mentioned waiting lists. According to the most recent statistics, 9% of the population in England are now on a hospital waiting list, the highest figure since records began in 2007. In Northern Ireland, it is 23% of the population, by far the highest proportion in the 4 home nations. My Lords, the drugs we are discussing today has been widely used in Northern Ireland to treat mid and late-stage lung cancer until now. Cancer patients in Northern Ireland are now being felt that they are placed at greater risk than cancer patients elsewhere in the United Kingdom. Can the noble Lord, the Minister, confirm that the supply problems in Northern Ireland is facing would not exist if the United Kingdom government had not agreed to the European Medicines Agency having jurisdiction in Northern Ireland?
Minister.
Well, my Lords, I don't agree with either the basis or the detail of the noble Lord's assertion. There is absolutely no delay or problem of access for this drug. He is entirely right that Tagrisso is currently offered to patients across the UK, including Northern Ireland, for mid and late stage disease, and it will now be offered to patients across the UK, including Northern Ireland, on exactly the same terms for early stage disease.
Lord Dodds of Duncan.
My Lords, Northern Ireland is subject to EU law when it comes to single market for goods and for medicines, but there's a grace period up until the 31st of December 2021. After that, the industry, representatives of the pharmaceutical industry, say that 98% of medicines are at risk of being discontinued from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. That is a truly outrageous and scandalous situation. Effects are already being felt. Can the Minister confirm that the Government will take whatever steps are necessary in terms of the protocol to guarantee the continued supply of medicines to Northern Ireland from Great Britain without any further regulation being required?
Minister.
Well, my Lords, I have met with industry on this matter for the last 18 months, and I'm afraid to say that the message that I get from industry is not of the alarmist kind that the noble Lord described. Quite the opposite, and I would pay tribute to industry for their enormously collaborative sense of partnership, and I really do not believe that there is any threat of the kind that he just described.
Lord Bruce of Benarchy.
Speaking from Aberdeenshire, I know that drug approval can differ between Scotland and England. So now we've left the EU, is it not inevitable there will be differences in drug approval and timings from time to time? So what is the government doing, having signed the agreement to opt out of the EMA, to negotiate an arrangement which minimises the disruption but doesn't pretend that it can't happen because that's what they signed up for?
Minister.
Well, my Lords, there will be an occasional moment when there are slight differences between the EMA and MHRA. We're not anticipating them to be huge, and in this case, we're anticipating them to be a matter of weeks, whilst one approval doesn't quite overlap with another. But the UK Government and the MHRA are working closely with the Northern Ireland Executive and all relevant stakeholders to ensure the supply of medicines to all UK patients, including Northern Ireland patients, remain smooth, seamless and efficient.
Lord Cormack.
My Lords, could I thank my noble friend for his calm and reassuring answer? but would he accept that the real problem is the one pointed to by Baroness Thornton, namely the waiting lists? And can we perhaps devise some sort of Nightingale solution to bring forward and have people seen in a special place or special places? Because the real danger is that people are going to be diagnosed too late, and then whatever the drugs, they will die.
Minister.
Well, I do endorse the recommendations of my noble friend. He is entirely right that the old method of diagnostics, which relied a lot on patients attending diagnostic appointments in hospitals, does feel very out of date after the pandemic. And I note Professor Mike Richards' review on diagnostics, which recommended community hubs, which has got a huge amount of support within the NHS. We do need to build up our diagnostic capability. We need to bring them closer to where people live, and we need to make them more approachable so people get early interventions.
Baroness Hoey.
My Lords, I do fear that what seems to be, my Lords, the certain complacency in the Department of Health about what is going to happen in Northern Ireland from next January, when Brussels takes over control of medicines coming into Northern Ireland. How can a Conservative and Unionist party actually accept that our National Health Service is now going to be separated out, whatever the goodwill of my noble Lord is to make sure this does not happen?
Well, my Lords, I do reject the accusation of complacency. We've worked unbelievably hard with Northern Irish stakeholders, with the pharmaceutical industry and with EU colleagues in order to make sure the smooth running of the supply of medicines in the Northern Ireland. And the facts do speak for themselves. So far they have run extremely smoothly indeed. But I'd like to reassure the noble Baroness the UK Government is committed to parity of access for medicines across the UK, including the Northern Ireland. Despite different approval routes, we have ensured that all patients have access to medicines at the same time, and we will maintain that commitment.
Baroness Ritchie of Downpatrick.
My Lords, would the noble Lord the Minister commit to meet the pharmaceutical industry, otherwise known as PAGB, whom I met several weeks ago, who have told me about problems that could ensue from the 1st of January next year in relation to the availability of over-the-counter medicines in Northern Ireland due to the requirements of the protocol? Would the noble Lord the Minister undertake to meet this organisation to ensure that there are immediate discussions between the UK and the EU to resolve any ongoing difficulties and impediments?
I note the noble Baroness's point, and as I noted the noble Baroness Jolly's point on this issue, it's not one that I am aware of, but I would be pleased to meet with the party she described in order to understand it better.
My Lords, all supplementary questions have been asked and indeed answered.